I am so excited. It is time for another pretty moment. I hope that you guys enjoyed the Get Ready With Me last time. I enjoyed it. It was a little longer than usual, but I thought that it was super helpful to kind of just share my thoughts as I was having them. So again, I hope that you enjoyed that. But today, I'm eating. I'm starving. I have not eaten. My head is killing me. But I wanted to make sure that I checked in with you all and spent a little time. And what I actually wanted to talk about was passing the test. And it's actually going to be a little bit different than what you're probably expecting. Okay, I'm not talking about passing the test of not going off on people, or passing the test of watching your words, or passing the test of just doing what God has called you to do. That is actually not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about passing the test of maintaining your boundaries. Maintain your boundaries. And it is incredibly important that we have this conversation, because as we're building relationship and as we're getting to know one another and really beginning to dive deep into who we are ourselves, like we're getting to know ourselves, it's important that you know what your capacity is, what your margins are, what your boundaries are. That's the line that you're not going to cross. And what's within it is the capacity, what all you can take in, what all you can navigate with, what all you can process. And your margins are right in front of your boundary line, okay? A lot of people like to operate as though their margins are outside of their boundary line, but it's actually within it, because you never actually want to have to hit your boundary. And I don't know if you ever heard that, but it's something that I teach a lot with the people that I work with, is that you don't want to hit your boundary. You want to get right within that margin line, because your boundary is your absolute limit. And if you can begin to communicate with yourself and with others, that they begin to understand that this is your capacity and they need to stay within that, and so that it doesn't bleed over into where you're beginning to become anxious and overwhelmed, you have a more productive and more fruitful relationship, both with yourself and with others. And it's important for us to have this conversation, because as we're beginning to learn ourselves, we are going to unlearn some of the boundaries that other people have taught us about ourselves. Okay? Your boundaries should be dictated by you and by God. Okay? Nobody else. And there are things that we have done or we have operated under the impression of that do not serve us. We have to begin to change the narrative. And if these things no longer bring you joy or fulfillment or address your purpose, you should not feel the responsibility to follow through with them anymore. And that's hard for a lot of us, especially me. So this is for me too, right? But we have to learn to pass the test, because if you are constantly in this place where people are pushing you into your marginal space and then past your boundaries after a while, you are no longer efficient and you are no longer capable of fulfilling what God is actually calling you to do, because you're outside of your capacity. You are overwhelmed, you are anxious, you are no longer focused, and you are doing things that you are not called to do, and that is someone else's responsibility. So not only are you not in your own lane, but you have pushed someone else out of theirs. And that's dangerous. So I want you to catch that not maintaining your boundaries can lead you into a season of disobedience. If God has told you to do something, or to behave a certain way, or to interact or engage in a certain way, or he's told you to put certain things down, or he's told you to pick certain things up, and you are unable to do it because you are operating outside of your boundaries right now, and you are absolutely overwhelmed to the point where you cannot hear him properly, you are now disobedient. And you are going into a season of deficit. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. And you don't have the time for that. We no longer have years and years and years to accomplish what God is calling us to do. We no longer have years and years and years to make the impact that he has set aside for us. We no longer have years and years and years and years and years to be the woman that he's called us to be. The time is now. And if you cannot effectively navigate in the now, he cannot trust you with the next. how you navigate in your now, how you handle your now, how you guard your capacity and your boundaries now will directly affect how you address and navigate your next. And so he has to be able to see that you can be a good steward of you. You have to be a good steward of you. Stewardship does not just apply to money. It does not just apply to material things. It does not just apply to your home or to your vehicles. Like it just does not. It applies to all of you at every level. So everything that is connected to you and your core, it applies to that. And so taking the time to assess what your needs are, what your capacity is, what your skill set is, what your calling is, and where you need to grow is all important to determine what your boundaries are and where you need to really shore yourself up. Because I can guarantee that you're like me and there are some really strong areas for you that hey, I got that handled. You ain't finna try me there. Right? But there are some areas that are incredibly weak. And that's where you need to focus because you have to be very strong on your boundaries across the board. Across the board. And until you get to that place, then you will continue to operate from this place of constantly feeling like, my God, what is happening? And he's constantly have to communicate with you at a lower level than at the elevated level that he wants to be at. It's time to pass the test for your boundaries. It's time. Those connections that God has told you to walk away from, those people that he's told you to hold to the line, those decisions that you've made that he's told you, stop doing that. Stop doing that. The places that you've been going, the projects that you've been taking on, the partnerships that you've pursued that he told you to wait on. All of those things really have to do with boundaries and not feeling compelled to do anything outside of them or to allow anybody to push you outside of where you know the line is. Will you pass the test? Will you pass the test? I say that because I'm in the same place, right? And I'm navigating, y'all, because I really, 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 really want to get this right. Like I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed to the point where there are days that I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm also realigning with him. And so that takes time and it takes effort and you are going to be exhausted, but it's to get you to a place where you will no longer have to experience that. And that's important, right? I don't want to be tired all my life. I don't want to be exhausted all my life. I don't want to keep coming on here talking, oh my God, are y'all anxious too? Because I'm anxious. Oh my God, are y'all overwhelmed? Because I'm overwhelmed. Who wants to do that? I don't have time. So will you pass the test? Will you pass the test? That's for you to answer. So I'm going to suggest that you make a list. That you make a list of those areas that you feel that God is calling you to, that he has given you a certain skill set for, that he's purposed you to, people that he's called you to, people that he's purposed you to. But then I also want you to write down where you feel anxious and overwhelmed, right? And then I want you to really consider where you have crossed the line or allowed other people to cross the line with you and how it has directly affected those areas where you're overwhelmed and how it has kept you from doing the things in your first list, the thing that you're called and purposed to do. And then once you have been able to discern that, then you need to start writing down, what do I need to change? What do I need to put in place? What is my actual capacity? I can say yes to this and be okay. I cannot say yes to this and function well. What is my margin? What is the little area of bleed space where this can go over a little bit and I'll still be okay? I won't hit my boundary, but it's more than what I would like. Determine that, but be honest with yourself, okay? You cannot do everything and you cannot do everything well. And then my suggestion to you is to go to your accountability partner or your purpose partner and talk to them about it. Because some of that stuff that y'all think that y'all have perfected, or some of those things that you think you have held true to in your boundaries, you have not. And there are areas that you think should be a boundary. It's not a boundary. That's your pride in place. And you're thinking that you're too good for something, or that that is no longer your calling. But the reality is that you may not have perfected it in the way that you think, and he has not shifted you yet. But I'll be good. Okay. That's what I wanted to talk about. So I'm excited. I hope that this was beneficial and fruitful for you. I would love to hear your comments. Share with me what you want to talk about. Because obviously I got plenty to talk about, y'all. I got plenty. But I would love to hear from you. Be sure to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe there. There's plenty of content and pretty good coffees there that I think that will really bless you and continue our conversations. And then share with others to subscribe to the newsletter so they can get some of this too, because we're going to have these types of conversations. They're not always going to be easy. They'll never be super long, but I hope that they're impactful. Okay. And if you haven't gotten your tickets to the Hey Pretty conference, go ahead and go to heyprettylife.com. Get your tickets. We're still adding stuff for you. I cannot wait for you to see what we have planned. It's going to be bomb. But you have to be there to see it. You have to be there to experience it. You have to be there to be impacted by it. So I look forward to seeing you. I love you. Bye, pretty.